China, 1949. From Peking's Tiananmen Square, Communist leader Mao Zedong announces the founding of the People's Republic of China. A new time for China, for the Chinese Communist Party, and for Chairman Mao. He has given his life to revolution and to his dream of changing China. Now is his moment. Mao's government calls itself a people's democratic dictatorship. But democracy is not really planned. Instead, the center of government is the Central Committee, made up of around 100 senior party members. Above that is the 12-member Politburo, and inside that, the Politburo Standing Committee, where the real power is. There are 5 members, including Liu Shaoqi, a longtime labor organizer who studied in Moscow. He is now vice chairman of the Communist Party. Zhou Enlai, a hero of the revolution, once Mao's superior in the party, but who has now publicly and privately promised loyalty to Mao's leadership. Charming and polite, he has shown great skill in diplomacy and will serve as Communist China's first state premier and foreign minister. And Mao himself, chairman of the Chinese Communist Party and top leader. At age 55, Mao now holds unchallenged personal power, the result of his inspiring leadership in the fight against the Japanese and the nationalists. Though never a natural public speaker, Mao is a charismatic person, capable of deep thinking, clever political strategy, and powerful writing. Since 1938, he has been married to his 4th wife, the famous actress Jiang Qing. She has a strong personality in her own right, fiercely loyal to Mao, and harsh toward his rivals, real or imagined. After years of revolution, invasion, and civil war, China is very poor and in great need of change and rebuilding. The Communist Party begins work immediately to shape the country with ideas strongly influenced by Soviet thinking. To help with this, around 10,000 Soviet advisors arrive in China to assist with rebuilding. The country is still mostly a farming society. In 1949, it is roughly estimated that every 5th person on Earth is a Chinese peasant. They have long been the base for communist success in China, won over by promises of land redistribution, which has been enforced in communist-controlled areas since the early 1930s. Now it will be carried out across the whole country. Rural landowners, who have controlled the countryside for centuries, are accused of abusing their power over peasants. They are publicly shamed by the communists, put on trial, and executed in huge numbers. More than 1 million are killed. Their land is taken and shared out. Over the next 3 years, about 300 million peasants receive land for the first time. Early reforms are meant to completely change Chinese society. New laws improve women's rights and protect their role in the workforce. To raise literacy from just 20%, the government promotes the use of simplified Chinese characters. Huge propaganda, campaigns in theaters, public storytelling, and posters aim to both teach and influence people with communist revolutionary values. Suspected counter-revolutionaries, such as nationalist supporters, corrupt officials, and capitalists, are to be reported and removed. The campaigns turn China's traditional class system upside down, shaming and impoverishing bourgeois and middle-class families. The number of victims is impossible to measure, but hundreds of thousands lose their status, have property taken, or are imprisoned. Some are even forced to take their own lives. China's new communist leaders try to build friendships abroad, but World War II has been followed by the Cold War, and the world is now divided between a democratic, capitalist West and the Soviet-led communist bloc. The Western powers offer no support to communist China. In fact, they still recognize their wartime ally, Chiang Kai-shek, as China's rightful ruler. his strict nationalist government, officially called the Republic of China, still controls Taiwan and small islands in the Taiwan Strait. So, it is to the Soviet Union that Mao turns. In December 1949, he travels to Moscow for 3 months of talks with Soviet Premier Joseph Stalin. Their relationship is not easy. By creating his own style of communism in China, Mao has often ignored his Soviet-backed rivals. Still, in February 1950, the two leaders sign a treaty of friendship, alliance, and mutual assistance, opening the door to economic and military cooperation between China and the Soviet Union. By the 18th century, the Qing dynasty had added several far western territories to its empire: Mongolia, Xinjiang, and Tibet. But during the chaos after the 1911 revolution, they had slipped from Chinese control. Now, the communist government moves to take back control. In 1949, the People's Liberation Army is sent to reoccupy Xinjiang. In 1951, Tibet is occupied and annexed after a short conflict the Chinese government calls the Peaceful Liberation of Tibet. As part of the agreement, the Dalai Lama is allowed to remain as head of a local government. No effort is made to regain Outer Mongolia, which is now in the Soviet sphere of influence. Taiwan remains a major problem. Both the communists and Jiangsu nationalists continue to call the other side bandits and say the other government is illegal. Elsewhere, China's borders seem settled. But in 1950, the People's Republic of China faces a major war near its border, the Korean War. After World War II, Korea had been divided into 2 states, a communist north and a democratic south. In June 1950, northern forces invade the south, moving quickly and capturing Seoul within a week. Korea becomes a Cold War battlefield. Under U.S. leadership, UN troops step in to support South Korea. By the end of the year, they push the front, line back to the Yalu River, near the North Korean-Chinese border. Afraid of a U.S.-led invasion and wanting to support a communist ally, Mao sends Chinese troops to help North Korea. More than 1 million Chinese soldiers enter the war, later rising to 2.5 million. Facing this huge attack, UN forces retreat south. After months of heavy fighting, the war reaches a stalemate. Both sides dig in along the 38th parallel. In 1953, an armistice is signed, and this line becomes the heavily guarded border between North and South Korea, known as the DMZ, Demilitarized Zone. For China and for Mao, the Korean War is shown as a victory. They have supported the global socialist cause and stood up to the U.S. superpower. Perhaps even more importantly, communist power inside China grows stronger. But the cost is enormous. The Korean War causes an estimated 3 million deaths. Chinese military losses are more than 500,000, possibly many more. Among them is Mao's own son, Mao Anying, killed in a UN airstrike while serving with Chinese forces. In trying to stop the spread of communism, the U.S. now places a total trade embargo on Communist China. The war also increases U.S. support for Chiang Kai-shek's government in Taiwan, with President Truman sending the U.S. 7th Fleet to prevent a possible communist attack. In 1953, China's government introduces its first 5-year plan, inspired by similar economic plans in the Soviet Union. One goal is to quickly and greatly increase China's industrial production. Huge efforts, supported by Soviet technical skills, bring impressive results in transport, industry, and infrastructure. Production of coal, iron, and steel all go beyond their high targets, while China becomes a major oil producer for the first time. The second goal of the 5-year plan is to quickly increase farm production. To do this, the Communist Party pushes farmers to collectivize on a large scale. forming cooperatives that include dozens, sometimes hundreds, of households. By 1956, 80% of peasant households are part of a cooperative, meaning they share land, tools, and harvests. Cooperatives also have an ideological goal: to strengthen party control over the lives and thoughts of rural communities. At great speed, communist reforms are changing a rural way of life that is centuries old. And planting the seeds of disaster, Mao feels encouraged by the clear success of the first five-year plan. Hoping to inspire more new ideas, in 1956, he announces, "Let 100 flowers bloom, let 100 schools of thought compete." It is an invitation for people to come forward with helpful suggestions for the government. In response, criticism of the party pours in from intellectuals, academics, and scientists. Mao and the leadership feel shocked and angry. Instead of welcoming suggestions, they move to crush what they now see as dangerous opposition. A new anti-rightist campaign punishes at least 500,000 men and women who are judged not loyal enough to the party. Punishments include public humiliation, hard labor, and execution. Among the leaders of this harsh campaign, a new member of the Politburo Standing Committee, the 52-year-old Deng Xiaoping. A veteran of the Long March, he will become a key figure in the years to come. 1958, the start of a second five-year plan, this time even more ambitious. Mao calls it the Great Leap Forward, a huge program to create a truly socialist state and greatly expand industrial production to catch up with the world's leading economies. A massive public information campaign spreads the message across the country, urging every Chinese citizen to rise to the challenge and follow Mao's leadership. Existing rural cooperatives are merged into huge people's communes, where the party controls every part of daily life. The state now owns the land, buys the harvests, and gives out food rations. Private kitchens are banned as selfish, individualism, and replaced by communal dining halls. Very soon, the Great Leap Forward's goals become separated from reality. Many of the technicians and experts who should have guided the campaign have been removed. Under strong pressure to meet impossible,